So, the console I want to talk about today is the PlayStation Vita, which means life. Which, ironically enough, unfortunately, Sony didn't give it too much of it. But I like this console nevertheless. I feel like this was probably one of the most underrated consoles of almost of my generation at least. This console had an OLED screen, which at the time was pretty big. It had microphone built in. It had obviously Wi-Fi, 3G nobody really used, or the GPS. But it also had Bluetooth. So right off the bat, you're looking at Bluetooth and OLED, which was something that the Nintendo Switch did not have off the bat. It took, 3 years into the Switch's lifespan to get an OLED model, and about that same amount of time to open up Bluetooth for Bluetooth headphones. You would have had to use items like the Genki dongle just to be able to listen to your games. And it had great titles such as Uncharted, which I will also show in a second as well. Just some quick information. This was a 5-inch display, obviously touchscreen, rear touchpad, 6-axle motion sensor, obviously D-pad, which is something, again, the Switch didn't have, which is the double analog stick. Now, the original model did not have onboard storage memory, and from what I honestly believe, the memory was one of its biggest downfalls. They were very expensive to get, and unless you jailbroke your Switch, you weren't able to use micro SD cards with it. This opened up at about $250 US. It was released February 22nd here in the States and December 17th in Japan. Of course, Japan gets everything first. Shout out to Japan. What else? Obviously, Wi-Fi. Battery was 2200 milliamps, and the PlayStation Network. So at the time, if you had a PlayStation Network, you would get free games just like you do now for the PS4 and the PS5. But just to reiterate, that OLED screen still looks beautiful today, and especially when you're comparing it to retro games such as consoles such as the Analog Pocket, OLED screen still really makes things pop. So, without further ado, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. And let's get into the video and let's show you what I have. I will show you the 1000 model and the 2000 model, which was the LCD version. Both had their plus and minuses. I personally prefer the OLED model because it's an OLED screen. So, let's get into the video. Alright, so in front of me I have the PlayStation Vita. This one here is the OLED version. The one over here is the LCD version, also known as a PS Vita 2000. This is also known as a PS Vita 1000. So, this is the OLED version, this is the LCD version. Right now I have this doing remote play just to show that this can play with the PlayStation 4. Pretty useful. Now, unfortunately, I have the original PlayStation 4, so unless I'm really right in front of my PlayStation 4, this does not work well for me. This might work better for people who have the PlayStation 4 Pro, which uses faster internet speeds. Uses, I think, 5 gigahertz instead of the original 2.4 with 30 megabytes up and down. So it's really not the fastest thing. But it is pretty cool that you can use this to play your PlayStation games on. So you can tell this is right here, this is the PlayStation 4. Now, as I mentioned before, I would say the biggest drawback of this device here is gonna be its memory card. Now, that being said, this is still a great console, and I honestly feel like this is definitely by far one of the most underrated consoles out there. Now, let's just turn this one off. That way I can show you the memory cards. I personally prefer to use the water-filled case to do all my traveling. So it's a leather case, holds a whole bunch of games in. Now, if you do decide to go around and do jailbreak and use a micro SD card, you do lose the ability to put games in just like because it takes up the slot. Let me see if I have one here. See, I have more games here as well as a charging cable, and let's see what else. I know I have. Here it is. So here we go. This little memory card here was a custom-made memory card that was only available for the PlayStation Vita, kind of similar to what the PSP Go had. So this little thing here was very expensive. Now, I got several different ones until I decided to just go ahead and jailbreak them. So this one here, this is a 16 gig, I believe. No, this one's a 32 gig, look at that. So, but 32 gig doesn't get you very much these days. Even in the Vita's life cycle, that's still pretty small. So, let's turn on the OLED here. So this is the OLED, like I mentioned before. It's jailbroken. You can tell by the molecule logo instead of the original PlayStation logo. Now, since this is jailbroken, there are many different things you can do. But for example, let me just show you this real quick. Can't take it out now that I started it. This right here is an adapter where you can put a micro SD card. I put a 200 gig micro SD card in here, which is a lot more than the original 32 gigs that I have. Now, benefits of jailbreak, custom themes. This is one of my personal favorites. So go through it. Got nice theme music. Now I put a lot of games here since I got it. Now, the PKGJ, this is something that I'm sure jailbreaking people are familiar with if you have a Vita. This is where you can go download the games. I'm not recommending that. That's just my 2 cents. Now, one of the best things about the Vita is the fact that it has a built-in PSP emulator that works at 100%. So let's go to Adrenaline. This is what it is. It's going to close out the first time. There it goes. And you just got to start up again. And here we go. So, while starting up, the PlayStation was definitely their most successful line for Sony. Made it some pretty big shoes for the Vita to fill. Now, see, it still says I have 26 gigs left. Still a lot, but I did fill up a lot here. This is using the Kingdom Hearts theme, so you can put themes that you had on the original here. Now, it is pretty cool to be able to play these games in an OLED screen. It really look good. So let's just try a game here, that way you guys can see. Here we go. Let's try Kingdom Hearts. Now, you can even move your save files from your PlayStation Portable to this one once it's jailbroken. You just got to move it over, you connect it to the computer, and you just move the save. It is really that simple. This one right now, it looks like I didn't have any saved data, so let's just go ahead and start. See if I can be able to skip some of the stuff. I don't want to go through the whole beginning parts. It's a lot. It's weird because I thought I had saves already. This game does bring back, and I do have the physical version as well, the UMD. So this is going to run a lot faster, but it looks gorgeous on an OLED screen. Let's see if I have any stuff here. Okay, so this is Final Mix. So the good thing about this as well is that you can put translated games here as well. So it's going to be Circle. Yep, so there's no data because this is the Final Mix one. Just one. I wonder, let's just try it for now. See if I can skip it just to show you guys what you can do. The brightness already at max. Okay. Okay, so I can skip it. So let's skip. Okay, so this is the Japanese version. I have to press circle. And you can configure this left stick to be the LNR, which makes it much better since there was only one stick on the PlayStation Portable. I don't know. There's a lot of opening scenes. Yeah, one more. Okay, here we are. So let's see if it's already configured. I wish you guys can really see how gorgeous this looks. I know it's hard to see on a camera how really good it looks, but it really does look good. OLED, that's why I always prefer playing this one versus the LCD, even though I got this one afterwards. Let's see if, yep, so there you go. So since I made this the LNR, I can play as if it's always had to. Loads fast because it's off the SD card. I don't know if you've ever seen one of my other prior videos of UMD speed versus memory speed. UMD speeds are not the fastest. You can play all these PlayStation, all these PSP games. You can all play them all. So that's something I'm saying is very good to go through. So let's go back now. So here we have, there's a whole bunch of games that I have here already. I have a lot of games. You can play obviously some of the any Sword Art online games. You can play all types of games. These are some of the hacks that you might need. This relink is what you would use to register your device. That way you can use the PlayStation 4 link. But let's show you some emulation. Let's go to, I prefer MGBA, but RetroArch does work. It can be a little shoddy at times though. So let's just go to this one here. Now Game Boy Advance games look very good here because of the OLED screen. So let's just go to Game Boy Advance. Let's just try Pokemon Emerald. So you can do, like, this is pretty much picking up where I left off before. Just starting a new game. It looks great. Looks really good. I don't believe there's a real-time clock, which is obviously an issue, but that's an issue with a lot of other emulations as well. Now let's try another one. Obviously you can do Super Nintendo. You can do all that stuff as well. Let's see. Let's try the Super Nintendo one. Okay, let's go to... I hope I don't have to really hunt for these ROMs. There we go. Okay. Now, again, OLED makes everything look better. These games play very well. Let's show you another one. Let's go to RetroArch real quick. Oh, sorry. This is where you go to get the plugs. So if you really dive into the jailbreaking community for this, these are items that you're going to need. Auto plug, Vita shell. These are all stuff that you'll have to get familiar with. Okay, let's go to RetroArch. If you ever used RetroArch before, this looks just the same. Gives you that PS3 background. You know, it gives you the wave lines. It's all the same stuff. But here it gives you a whole bunch of emulators. Now you might run into issues where it might crash. You just might have to reload again. That's very common. You could do an NES. All types of games here. Let's try this one. Let's see if it'll let me. Sometimes these things will crash. RetroArch is known for crashing. Let's see if it works. I've had issues with RetroArch in the past. There we go. So RetroArch, it's not bad, but does give me issues occasionally. This one's Japanese, so obviously that's not going to work for me right now. I do not know how to read Japanese as much as I'd want to. Custom themes, this is where you go to get themes like one I have now with Studio Ghibli. Good thing about the Vita was that it was region free. So unlike the 3DS at the time, this could play many different games that were not in English. So for example, let's show you a game that I have. Here is Jumpstar. This Jumpstar I got, this is a Japanese one. That's one that is Japanese. I have another one. I have Pirate Warrior 2, I believe. Yes, Pirate Warrior 2 One Piece. So these are games that you can play You might not be able to understand them, but you can definitely play them no problem. And one last item I just want to show you for, obviously you can play, oh yeah, you can also play, here look, you can play PlayStation games natively on an OLED screen. It's probably the best way to go around to play some of these old PlayStation games. Let's see, let's try another one. That one gave me some problems. Occasionally these do give me issues, and this might just have to be loaded through the PlayStation portable emulator. Because these are sometimes stored there, but you have to go there. So yes, it's giving me an error. So let's just, you know what, while I'm here, let's just go to the emulator and let's try it out there. I want to show you how it looks. It's loading. Okay, now everything's giving me an error. This happens occasionally, and these are the problems you might face when you do a jailbreak. You know, let me just go real quick. Let me just see what's going on. All right, so we resolved the problem. I just had to do a restart. Granted, this happens with jailbreak devices. Occasionally, you have to do a restart. They do get a little finicky. There you go. This is a PlayStation 1 game. I believe this is Mega Man that I loaded up here. Yep, Mega Man X5. So you can play these PlayStation 1 games. Like I said, you might have to do a restart, but they usually run no problem once you get it running. It gives you the original PlayStation logo. There's also one other thing I wanted to share. There are a lot of accessories out there for the PlayStation Vita. Now, the one I have here is going to be for the 2000 model. So right here, this is what it looks like. This will allow you to pretty much essentially have back buttons. So I'd recommend, if you do plan on doing any of these stuff like remote play and you have a good internet connection and it works well, check out Hori, for example. This has the back buttons. This will work very well when it comes with playing remote play, since this is probably one of the best ways, in my opinion, to do remote play, especially with a Vita. Personally, one of my favorite ways to play. I used to have a better way to latch it, but that's been gone. I've had this for already a couple years. Yeah, I don't have the best internet connection. I know that. All right, so thank you everyone for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel. It really helps. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Thank you and have a good day.